how did you end up even becoming part of the insurance industry?
I happen to be a really avid drone pilot. And so when I talked to the other drone pilots and they said, damn it, like I got this great job at, from Fox or from Sony Pictures, but I can't get it because I don't have the insurance. I knew that there was an opportunity. And so that was a problem that we could solve. And it was one that I knew something about.
You talked about building the team. What were some of the things that you did when you were doing that?
The first thing is we were very disciplined and specific in how we built the business.
What would be the number one piece of advice for the entrepreneur, insurance agent?
In an industry like this, the first movers actually wind up doing a lot better than people that say, okay, things are going great, and let's just wait a couple of years to see how that kind of pans out. Being an entrepreneur, it's about endurance, right? Like things never go right. Never, ever, ever go right. I guess the difference between the past and today is I recognize that, I accept it, and so basically when it happens, I'm not surprised.
Boom! Jay, how you doing? Yeah, Jay Bregman.
Doing great. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. Yeah, this is going to be exciting. A lot of, we can go into some InsurTech stuff. Love to hear about the new technologies that are on the horizon here and a great story here. But first, Jay, we're going to dive into speed breakers. Ooh. I don't know if you've listened to the show before, but everybody gets to run. Oh, okay. Well, then you may have prepped a little bit. You may have pass. All right. So time on the clock. Let's go. Jay, have you ever had a mullet?
No.
First crush?
Alicia Silverstone.
Nice. First, most embarrassing thing your mom ever caught you doing?
Too dirty for this show.
Yes, perfect. The fastest speed ever driven?
120.
Nice. That's respectable. Favorite cereal?
So Bob's Red Mill Muesli.
Ooh.
How many kids?
Nice.
Have you made cry?
He's waiting. Love it.
You did wait for the Count Chocula or Count Dracula?
Count Dracula.
And the fastest mile. That was my Dracula impression.
Oh, yes.
Fastest mile.
Oh, my fastest mile.
Yeah, your fastest.
Yeah, let's say 8 minutes.
Okay. Favorite flavor?
Nice.
Butter pecan.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
That's correct. Tacos or burritos?
Burritos.
Favorite video game?
Command and Conquer.
And it still always comes up, Trump or Biden?
Pass.
You don't have to answer. Pass, correct. Awesome. And I'll toss it over to Jason, and then we'll dive in.
Yes, Jay, what was the first concert you ever went to? All the way back to Barney.
Grateful Dead, Madison Square Garden, 1992.
Oh, well, that's very interesting. Nice.
That is very interesting.
What year?
What
was it?
Greg's favorite band.
1992. So
92. Fat Jerry.
It was the full band. It was, the full experience. I was still in high school, but it was a great first concert.
Who was on keyboard?
Don't remember.
You remember? No. I think it was Hornsby. It might have been Hornsby.
Does anybody know the keyboardist? Is that
there's with the Dead, there's a whole thing about the keyboardist. It's like that means you're on deck to die if you're one of the keyboardists for the Dead. So very storied thing about that. So why don't you take us back? You got a great story going all the way back, but how did you end up even becoming part of the insurance industry? Let's dive in there.
So my last business, so I've started a couple of businesses in my career. I've been a career entrepreneur. And so my last business was a ride-sharing company in London called Halo. And that was eventually sold to Daimler. And so one of the things that I noticed while we were building that company was just how differently small businesses were being created through the use of technology, predominantly mobile technology. it wasn't just this idea that you were, you got to get a Main Street shop and a couple of employees and an annual insurance policy and you're kind of good to go. You were dipping in and out of basically, creating something, a lot of times just doing business on your phone. So I thought, well, look, what is going to be the blocker for this future to come true? And one of the things I kept coming into when I talked to people was insurance. And so insurance wasn't changing with the times for this new breed of SMB and this new future of work to actually get realized. And so I teamed up with a friend to figure out how to solve that problem.
Awesome. So take us.
What problems were you running?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, what was some of the problems you were running into with insurance specifically?
Well, look, yeah. So some of the issues are, the purchase process. An SMB, it can be just a single person, now. They're basically consumers. They're not used to the way in which small business insurance is presented traditionally, which is, oh, here's something that's designed for people who have between 5 and 50 employees, and it's got 45 questions, and it takes you an hour for the broker to walk you through and complete. And then, if you want any changes to it, you got to call up the broker. They'll call up the service center of the insurance company, and you'll go through that entire chain to get an answer back. I mean, it doesn't work for the consumer, but it also doesn't work for the broker because they're going to do a ton of work to arrange and bind a pretty small policy, $300-400. And then after they do that, then they've got the customer ringing them every week with a new client, adding an additional insured, and all of these things that they should be able to do themselves, but previously to Thimble, they couldn't.
Crazy. That is a huge problem. I've actually ran into that. A few of my friends starting small businesses, and our agency doesn't really specialize in that. So we pass them off to somebody else that does it. And yes, it is time consuming. And anytime that there's changes, that agent is bogged down. So interesting. So yeah, talk about, so you have a buddy. Was he an insurance agent?
He was not. He was far from an insurance agent. Eugene was somebody I met 10 years ago at Halo. He was a technical consultant. He's brilliant. But he had been an entrepreneur too. He had co-founded a business called diapers.com that became hugely successful and was sold to Amazon in 2011. He was the chief technology officer. So at the time that I got him, he was retired, but potentially interested in doing other things. And we got together talking about this as a really hard problem, both a tech problem and a product problem, and a people problem. And so we got together and started to build a team a couple of years ago.
I think it's so interesting to dive into the whole notion and idea of that entrepreneurial part of being an agent and having to come in and actually build the business. A lot of times agents will come in and then want to be the one-man band, and then it's not scalable, right? They run into a lot of, there's the learning curve of trying to learn everything. And then also they just, you can't grow if you're doing everything. So I think it would be relevant to talk about the building, like, from the beginning. How did you put it together? How did you identify? You talked about building the team. What were some of the things that you did when you were doing that? And then take us all the way up to funding, because I think that's a real interesting piece of it too.
Well, look, so, I mean, the first thing is we were very disciplined and specific in how we built the business. So we first started out with one single type of profession, which happened to be commercial drone pilots, because at the time there were all these drone pilots that were just starting to build their business, but they didn't want to buy annual policies. They wanted to buy per flight policies, and that wasn't available on the market. And drone insurance was a really new thing anyway. So we built the perfect system and app for commercial drone pilots. We did it on an admitted basis. It's approved in all 50 states. And so when we learned how to do that, we learned everything about how to create an admitted insurance product in America, all the people we needed, all the products we needed, all the discipline we needed on the tech side. And so that was sort of the kind of, the precursor to Thimble, which was, okay, now let's expand this out to 500 different types of business. and then let's do 1,000, and then let's do more and more and more, and let's build something that that can really scale horizontally and vertically.
So
love it.
And you went out. How did you select which specific different businesses to target? You said 500.
That was more of a kind of it was not as scientific. I happened to be a really avid drone pilot, and so when I talked to the other drone pilots, and they said, "Damn it, I got this great job at from Fox or from at Sony Pictures, but I can't get it because I don't have the insurance." I knew that there was an opportunity, and so that was a problem that we could solve, and it was one that I knew something about. And it was so new that people wanted that kind of problem to be solved. They didn't think it was solved already.
So you sort of created like an event insurance policy, but for the drone pilot.
Yeah, you could say that. And actually, it's funny that you do say that, because one of the new Thimble products that's not out yet, but is coming out, is actual event insurance you can buy from your phone. With just like a couple of questions, super easy to modify, super easy to email the COI to the venue. And this is something that's not just built for direct to consumer. It's actually built with agents in mind too. So agents can buy these policies from our platform for the consumer, and they can access all the self-service, or they can even just send a link to the customer and get full commission when the customer signs up. So we've kind of built this with the agent in mind.
Which is awesome, because a lot of these policies, especially for captive carriers, you go through a secondary platform, and it's pretty, you can get down the rabbit hole trying to put everything together. And a lot of times, like what Jason said, it's like, I just send it over to somebody else, right? Because it's way too much work to make $30, right? It doesn't make sense. So to have that in your back pocket, I think is huge. And it's like the gateway drug, right? You can offer this to get folks in the door, and then talk to them about their home, their auto, and all of the other things that we talk about.
Absolutely right. I mean, we have 7,000 plus agents that are using this system, and they're doing it because of the speed and flexibility, and control that they're getting from it. And they like to sign up the customers, because then they have the customers on their books, and basically they can prospect them in the future to their liking, but they haven't done a lot of work to be able to do it, not at the expense of other things in their business. And we know that, everything always comes at the expense of something else.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say my agency signed up with Thimble. I'd be able to send out, it's almost like an affiliate link, right? Where it's like they sign up directly with the company, and I would see a portion of the commission.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically,
or I would see the commission. It
could either download the app and do it, and we can track it right through the App Store, or they can do it on the web. And then you'll get notified as soon as they actually sign up. You'll get an email that says this customer signed up. Here's all the details, etc. So it's really pretty seamless. And by the way, the customers love it, because from the customer's perspective, it's still so much easier. And a lot of the customers, they love systems where they don't have to talk to as many people as they might have to traditionally.
Especially for these smaller transactional things, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Can you webhook data into Thimble?
Yeah, we can. So we are partnered with Angie's List, a company called PureSpace, which is big in the event space, and about a dozen others. And we actually have a full API that allows them to offer insurance to their pros. We also have, by the way, we have a widget for brokers that is actually on a significant number of websites, where basically the agent can just take our kind of code once they sign up, paste it into their website, and then there's a little booking platform that gets embedded where the customer can just sign up right on their website, and it looks exactly like part of their website. As you said before, get a percentage of the commission that flows through that.
And then you could webhook some of that info over to your CRM and then create automation.
Yeah, as you like.
Love it. That reminds me of the David Carruthers conversation, where he had event insurance, and he used that as the front end of his sales funnel, in which he would pretty much break even on the front end, run paid ads to it, break even on the front end, and then be able to cross sell on the back end. So Awesome. I love it. I love it. Huge opportunity, I think, for insurance agents to jump on and be able to use it as a huge tool and time saver of something that is not the best use of our time, especially when you're switching over those event insurance is nuts, man. Like it's so little. And some people are, at swap meets once a week or 4 events a week, and they're constantly changing all that stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And it is a huge pain point for the person too. I know one of my buddies was doing that. He was doing farmers markets and stuff, and he kept having to get the insurance and changing the info and the time. It wasn't even so much as the pain with the agent. So I sent it to my agent buddy. It wasn't even so much there was a pain between the agent and him, like time wise, but the real pain point was the time that, like, if he could just fill it in on an app or something, he would do it. Like it would eliminate the need to even talk to the other dude. So that would have been huge.
Absolutely.
We'll get him on it.
Yeah. Well, like agents kind of back to what I was saying before, they think that it serves themselves by helping as many people as possible with as many things as possible. And it just really bogs everybody down. And if you're looking at something that, a couple $100 policy, you're making $20 and now there's these multiple additional insureds changes and printing out certificates. I mean, the cost of trying to manage something like that is incredible versus what you're bringing in. And just to be efficient, this is a really, really interesting tool that I think folks should be looking at. So how would somebody go about finding the app, going to the website, learning more? What is all the details?
If you go to thimble.com or thimble.com/broker, that has all the information. You can also, if you want to play around with the app, which a lot of agents do, you just search for Thimble on the App Store. We're actually the only app that allows you to buy and manage business insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Cool. You can bind it right there on the app?
Yeah, about 30% of our customers actually bind it directly on the app.
Wow.
Super cool. Do you have to be an agent to get the affiliate fee?
Good question. So actually, no. So we have 2 levels. We have a kind of a referral program where basically you get all of the benefits, including commission, but you don't have to be appointed. And then we have an appointed program, which we just started right now, which is basically allows you some additional functionality, features, and commission rates that aren't available on the regular system. But we can do both, is the bottom line.
And then you guys are the underwriter, or who writes the?
Yeah, so we are an MGA. We use State National paper, which is part of Markel Group, and Markel is our reinsurer. So Markel Group or Markel Re is 100% reinsuring all of our work. So it's really good paper with a really solid partner.
Nice,
super cool. Jay, I want to dive a little bit backwards and a little bit deeper on. So you've been a part of a few different startups that have been very successful. What have you learned throughout the years that has been able to expedite? I would say Thimble more so than some of your earlier ventures.
Yeah, well, look. So I think it's more of understanding that these things take a long time to build right. Right? Like you really want to build things. In the beginning, I think I was more thinking about how do we build to be able to sell the business, or how do we be able to build it really quickly for a reason to be able to somehow flip it. And now, I think about building for the long term and building value and infrastructure and everything for the long term. But, look, being an entrepreneur, I mean, it's about endurance, right? Like things never go right. Never, ever, ever go right. It is right. The amount of time that they go right. The rest of the time, they go wrong in spectacular ways. But I guess the difference between the past and today is I recognize that, I accept it. And so basically when it happens, I'm not surprised.
I think that is very, very wise right there, because sorry to cut you off, Jason, but I mean, it is 100% true, right? There's always something that goes wrong. And then it's like, okay, it's this today, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah, and look, I empathize with all of the agents out there who are entrepreneurs, with their own businesses, because I mean, anything can happen. Staff can leave, markets can change. There's any number of things that can happen that are totally out of your control. But you got to ride through and get to the other side.
What has been some of those things that has given you endurance, especially with all the, I mean, I'm sure you've had your back against the wall many times throughout your time.
Well, look, I think there is the belief that is kind of now ingrained in me that things will get better. They might not necessarily get better tomorrow, but if you keep having the best team, if you keep having the best product, if you keep having the best partners, that over time, things will go your way. And I think that's really all you can hope for. Everything else is just noise.
Love it. Love it. So this is the big final question. Everything that you've learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey, and then everything that you've seen with insurance agents since you've been on your journey with Thimble, what would be the number one piece of advice for the entrepreneur insurance agent that's either been in the industry for a while or somebody that's coming into it and really wants to grow their business?
So, I guess from what I can see, insurance is a very complex, kind of sclerotic, industry. So, you really got to go and roll with the punches, but also you've got to, when new technologies or systems arise and come about, you can't be afraid to be the first or among the first to seize on them. So I think basically in an industry like this, the first movers actually wind up doing a lot better than the people that say, okay, things are going great, and let's just wait a couple of years to see how that kind of pans out. Because the market, the insurance might not be changing that quickly, but the underlying customer dynamics, in a lot of cases, how people buy insurance is changing pretty radically. And so I think as an agent, you have to figure out how you're going to be ahead of that curve. And I think you're in a great position. All this insurtech can be your friend, can be enabling you to do better than you have ever done before. I mean, have us work for you. We have tons of product managers and engineers that are working to make life easier for you. So just embrace that.
Love it. It's like Batman's utility belt. Build it.
Exactly.
Get a bigger belt.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Jay Bregman, thank you so much for jumping on. And one more time, it's Thimble, available at the App Store, and the website for the listeners.
So Thimble.com and Thimble.com/broker.
Okay. And then your cell phone in case anybody has any tech issues.
You can email me anytime at jay@Thimble.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you on, and we look forward to checking in down the road.
I love that. Thank you very much.
Okay. See ya.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you, Jay.
Cheers.